Do you have old friends that you've lost contact with? We're social beings. Boy, did we see that during the pandemic, big time. And it taught us some lessons that maybe it's stuff we already knew, but it renewed that knowledge that, yeah, we need people. And especially those that we've known for a long time. As we get older, we move apart, we lose track. We're not as maybe village oriented as we used to be. Dr. John Braccio joins us now every Tuesday about this time. Regional Psychological Services, a little section I like to call, hey, what's up, Doc? What's up, Doc? Doc Braccio, good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Mike. And, I do believe that renewing old friendships is always a good idea. This is particularly true in an age when so many persons feel isolated and do not have enough human contact. And non-human electronic communication, Mike, is often the major means of communication they have. It's also true we live in an aging population time with constant geographical change that results in persons either losing friends due to death or not living near them and losing contact. And I just believe that renewing old friendships is also helpful, even if you do have a loving partner, family, and friends. Too often, this is really true. Persons become too insulated and judgmental in their life outlook by only being around persons who think like them. And a broader perspective can be helpful, no doubt. It also is true that in spite of the tremendous amounts of information available, persons often tend to filter so much available information in a way to only reinforce their views. This is not necessarily a negative thing in itself, but if we really want to be as well-rounded as we can be, it is always useful to have insights and ideas from other persons different from our own. In fact, my wife and I recently have been making contact with friends we knew many years ago and even have had a chance to meet up with some of them in Miami and Michigan. This past weekend, I talked to someone I had not seen for decades, at a party about fond memories I had of his mother, who died over 35 years ago. He was very happy to hear my memories. The following are really specific advantages of renewing old friendships and keeping the contact current and alive. A big advantage of the electronic age is that it does allow us to talk and see other people, regardless of where in the world we live. It's also helpful for one's memory to be in contact with friends from the past and relive old memories. If someone were a friend of yours somewhere in your voyage of life, then keeping that friendship alive enriches both of your lives. And really another thing, you'll be surprised how happy most people will be to hear from you. And you may even hear compliments from them that you made contact and added some brightness to their lives. You may gain insights on how to look at life through the prism of someone living a very different life. This is true, even if your current views on life are very different, but both are honorable. As people age or periodically move geographically, their circle of friends often decreases. It's easier to continue long-term friendships and go through the long-term process of developing new ones. If we're maintaining contact with old friends and have them continue as current friends, the odds are far better. We will not end up isolated or so narrow in our views that we run the risk of having trouble having friends or being friends with anyone. So I'm a strong advocate, Mike, of renewing friendships, maintaining them, getting together with people with a minimum, talking to people, and seeing their faces on TV on our monitors, and just really keeping in contact with people. I think that's an important thing to do in life. We need people.
Oh, yeah. And as you mentioned, it's easier now with the electronic age. You can FaceTime, you can Zoom call or whatever. And if you're of an age where that's a little challenging technically, you always have kids, grandkids that can set it up for you and help out with that, as we should. We do with Lisa's dad. But here's the thing. You ever notice this? Like Lisa's dad, what few friends are still around from years ago,
sure,
there's only one or two. There's a few over in Bay City. They never talk. I don't think they even know each other exists. We just found extended family of one of them the other day and said, oh, yeah, no, Henry's still here. And maybe we'll set something up. But isn't it so this kind of even reinforces the idea that an old friendship doesn't have to be 30 years ago, could maybe be 5 or 10 years ago, the older you get? Because, I mean, people kind of tend to pass away.
Well, that is really true. So I encourage people to be in contact. And I have a couple friends of mine that are well into their 80s, and they still are in regular contact with friends from the past. They even made contact with some person just went over to Chicago to hook up with some friends from the past. So I think, it takes a long time, too, to really develop a strong friendship with someone. And if you're living a life and you don't have many people around you, even if you do, it's still good to maintain those contacts. And it also keeps you fresh, keeps those memories alive. It's always nice to talk to somebody. Like this person I just talked to actually was in Miami, talked to a person that I knew his mother 55 years ago. Just happened we used to spend some time talking, and he said, "Hey, you were talking Spanish, actually. So you actually remember my mother?" I said, "Yeah, I remember her very well." We used to have these talks at some of these get-togethers. So I think that it's something to really reinforce and just make things better. Like you mentioned, I think that's your father-in-law you're talking about, or relative. And it is true too. In the road of life, people do die. People do move through this whole cycle. So not keeping in contact can make you lonely. But there's another thing too important. You want to keep your mind. You don't want to be too narrow. If you're only around people that just think like you do, that's good. There's nothing wrong with being with people you're going to fight and argue with. But people that live in different areas, different places, they experience different things. They can see things differently. And two people can be right. They just have a different view of how life ought to be done and what's the right way to do it. But basically, it's good for you as a person. You're going to be more well-rounded. You're going to have different views. And it'll make you, I think, a more enjoyable person because, there are people that get so rigid that they find fault with everybody. So they end up not having any friends. They are.
Become the crusty old man,
Well, they are out there, so you want to be someone who people want to be with. They want to say, that Mike, I want to get with him. He's a great guy. He's
very few say that, trust me.
I doubt that. You are a great guy, good guy.
Doc, your friend in Miami, I hope's doing well and is going to be okay with this hurricane down there. We're going to talk to Eben Brown in Florida here in just a minute about that. But, renewing old friendships. Doctor, you are one of my old friends, even though I've only known you a couple of years. Thanks a lot for all you do, and we'll chat again next week.
Come on, you're a champion, buddy. I'll look forward to talking to you. Bye-bye.
See you, bud. He's a nice guy. It's true. 1320 WILS.